I decided that my dark videos and dark secrets that I'm trying to be open about, I'm going to hide them and make the videos unlisted. Now, I'm not going to completely, hide them and put them back in the secrecy, which I don't know if I can do that because now, there's a lot of people that watch the videos. So, but I don't want it to be where it's almost attention seeking, which if I'm a little honest, I was trying to do attention seeking because I wanted to communicate something important and talk about my story and what I've been through and wanted people to listen to me. So I kind of had to do a little what is the word, extreme titles and stuff like that to grab people's attention. But it's like when I make a video with a regular title with a very important message, almost just as important as the dark videos, me talking about my dark secrets, probably more important, people don't want to watch those, or I get very less views. And so when I make a video with an extreme title, talk about some kind of dark secret of mine, it gets a lot of views. So what I'm going to end up doing is the videos with the simple titles are like this one, and then like the video about the two women and everything, I've already put it unlisted, but I'm going to put that link on the video of asking the world for forgiveness. And I'm actually going to change that title to asking everyone for forgiveness, because there's a difference between everyone and the world, and I had to learn that. But yeah, I'm not going to have these dark videos. I'm not going to completely put them back in the secrecy and the hiding, but I'm going to have them harder to find but still available. And so someone who's really trying to get to know me and actually want to see those videos and not just get entertainment out of me and just trying to click it because it's extreme title and it's clickbait kind of like that, which is not, but I don't know, I'm not trying to, I don't know, it just kind of bothers me that people would rather watch those videos than my kind of videos that have a simple title and aren't as dark or as extreme as those videos. And so I'm not trying to use those videos to bring more attention to me, but instead I'm going to use these videos, and people would have to watch these videos in order to get access to those dark extreme videos, because for the people that actually want to get to know me and watch these videos first, they could watch those videos by going in the description and clicking the link of the unlisted video. And so that's what I'll end up doing, is having those videos harder to find but still available. Anyway, I had made a video and I just put it unlisted because it got a lot of views, and I was like, okay, now this video has an extreme title, me talking about a dark secret of mine, and I'm not trying to, I don't want people to just flock to that video and ignore the rest of my videos. So I put it on listed, and I'm going to put the link to that video in this description of this video, because this video is a part 2, but really that video, even though I made that video first, is a part 2 to this video. So I mean, depending on how you want to take it, but basically in that video I was talking about the ego of the artist, talking about how trauma creates art, and talking about me collecting trauma to learn from it so I can teach other people, and how I learned that from magic mushrooms. But not that magic mushrooms, see, like I said, I had taken magic mushrooms when I was almost suicidal, and it stopped me from being suicidal. And so I can't ignore what mushrooms have done for me. I see mushrooms as, I talked about this before, but I see mushrooms not as a master, second master that we serve, but as a neighbor that deserves respect and should be used as not as a toy to be played with, but same with marijuana, but as a creative tool that deserves respect, but also a creative tool that can be used to solve our problems, to help us solve our problems. And so yeah, even though the lesson that I had learned from magic mushrooms and talking to other people who's taken mushrooms about, even though I was talking to other people about it, and I came to this lesson that trauma creates art, and collect trauma to learn from it so I can teach other people. If I want to be an artist, okay? I kind of taught myself that, but magic mushrooms kind of helped me. And I do agree that people who've been through a lot of trauma, they can turn that into art that can be relatable to other people, and they can create beautiful art that can be admired and appreciated. But the idea that you have to collect trauma and learn from it and do that to yourself to be able to be that kind of artist, I don't know if I agree with. I don't agree with that anymore. And so I used to think pain and suffering was the price that we pay for existence. And I used to say that to other people. And now I think work, holding a job, working a job is the price that we pay. And I think a lot of people want to try to get out of work and live, they want to retire early, and they want to try to make enough money, get enough money where they never have to work again. Now, not everyone, but from my observation and from my observing myself, I would have loved not to work again in my life, and to have all my needs taken care of, and to be able to have other people, or not other people, but to be able to be so rich where I just don't have to worry about money or worry about survival. And so, the idea and the dream of chasing money was attractive to me, and I kind of desired it. And so, did desire it, it can be human nature to desire to be rich. It could be human nature to desire to be rich, okay? I can understand we could get tired of our job and, tired of putting up with the stress, and we just kind of want to feel free, and, the American dream and all that stuff, I understand, okay? But you have to understand that, being poor, as Americans, we can be spoiled and ungrateful, and being poor in America still means that you are richer than almost every human. They're richer than, I can't speak, but being poor in America, you are still richer than majority of the humans that have ever lived on earth, that has ever lived, okay? So if you look at all human history, okay, and you look at the history of slavery and all this stuff, being poor in America, you still have it better than majority of every human that lived, okay? And so, yeah, I think we could be ungrateful, especially Americans, Americans can be spoiled and ungrateful, and I am what you call it, I can be ungrateful myself, and I've been spoiled. I've also been poor and homeless, so yeah, I think, and I talked about masters, how I don't see mushrooms and marijuana as masters, but I see them as our neighbors. They're plants, or, mushrooms isn't a plant, but, and mushroom genetics are, I said this before, but mushroom genetics are closer to our genetics than they are to plants. But marijuana is a plant, natural. Mushroom is natural. They come from earth. They come from God, okay? And so, like I said, creative tools that deserve respect. But I don't think that they are a second master, because Jesus said you can't have two masters. And when he said that, he meant you can't serve God and you can't serve money, okay? Can't serve both of them. And so I started asking, what does that mean? Okay? Because, I used to want to be rich. And then I had learned that chasing money and sex doesn't make you happy, because the people who do try to serve money and sex and only focus on money and sex and chase after it, they have to compensate by meditating, by going to the gym, by trying to eat healthy, by reading self-help books, by doing a lot of stuff to try to feel like they deserve to be rich and happy. And I thought about it. And I was like, I don't want to be rich. And, you know, I had kind of took that mindset. I took it kind of differently in terms of, you know, just blow all my money because, you know, I don't, you know, money won't make me happy, so just get rid of it as fast as possible. But I also thought, okay, so, but what if you had a lot of money? Or I also thought, how can I help people? But I need money to help people, but I blow all my money. And so I'm like, okay, so if I got rich, then I can help people. But I'm like, why can't you help people with the money that you have? Instead of blowing it on just useless junk, on things that you don't need and just on waste, why don't you use the little bit of free money that you do have and use that to help people? That way when you do get rich, you can try to use, you know, when you do get more money, you can use that money to help people. Because if you're someone that just blows all your money like I did immediately with the little bit of money that you have and you don't use it to help people, how can you expect to help people when you get rich if you don't try to help people with the little bit of free money that you do have? Okay? And so that's what I had to ask myself. And so, yeah. And I also had to question, how come we say that person, how come people in society say that person deserves to be rich and that person doesn't deserve to be rich? How come we say that? What does it mean to deserve to be rich? And I also think of Mr. Beast versus Robin Hood. You know, steal from the rich, give to the poor. And so, you know, I think of these stories and I think of these people. And, you know, not serving two masters. You can't serve money and God. You can't serve money and God, okay? That's how I kind of view the money thing, right? And then, you know, trying to be an artist, the ego of the artist, and trying to collect trauma and learn from it and stuff and teach people and trying to sell my art for money. I don't know, like I said, money doesn't give you happiness. Money won't make you happy. You hear it so many times, but yeah. You know, I started thinking about the whole trauma thing and everything, but why would I need to collect trauma and learn from it when Jesus already went through trauma by dying, bleeding and dying on the cross? Why would I have to go through trauma and learn from it myself when he went through trauma and I could just learn from him? And instead of letting my curiosity get that dark where I have to learn from my own trauma and try to use that to make money and create art to sell for money, why don't I just point and direct my curiosity towards understanding what he did? What does it mean? Like, what does it mean that he bled and died on the cross for us? Like, you know, they say that he, you know, did it for every human being. So that those who believed in him can be saved. And so what does that mean? What does that mean that he bled and died on the cross for every human being so that those who believed in him can be saved? And to try to explain that, I want to talk about when I was younger, why I didn't believe in Jesus, or why I struggled believing in Jesus. And it was because, yes, I was scared of hell, but I also didn't like the idea of punishment. But if you believe in Jesus, then you know that Jesus already took the punishment for us by bleeding and dying on the cross. So I get people are scared of hell and they don't like punishment like I was. But like I said, he took the punishment for us by dying for our sins. And so all we have to do is believe in him, have faith in him, get to know him, try to be good, be kind, repent our wrongdoings, all our wrongdoings. Try to forgive everyone. And do not judge. And then also try to talk to him. And also try to talk about him. Because, like I said before, if you believe in someone, like what kind of friend would you be, first of all, if you believed in someone, and you said you believed in someone, and you didn't want to get to know them, and you didn't get to know them? I don't know if you wanted to, but if you believe, what kind of friend would you be if you believe in someone and didn't get to know them? And then also, what kind of friend would you be if you believe that those who don't believe could go to hell, and you didn't try to convince them to believe, to try to save them so that they can be saved? And so, yeah, that's my whole view on it, and I'm still working on it myself. I'm not perfect, and I'm trying my best. I could try better and do more, I'll admit it, but that's what I'll say. And yeah, another thing I'll say too is, I said this in another video, and that video will be listed in the description, and it is dark, warning y'all. So if you want to watch it, just a heads up. But like I said, I feel like the question that a lot of people ask themselves, and they look at their life and their decisions and their choices, and everything they've done, is, am I a good person? And I don't think that's the right question to ask. The right question I think to ask is, do I want to be a good person? And how do I do that? And my answer to myself, when I ask that question to myself, is to try to live my life like Jesus. But yeah, how can I try to be a good person? And how can I live my life like Jesus? And another thing I would say is being kind. Kindness is key. This is actually, a kid told me this, but when I was not really having this conversation, but kind of talking about kindness and stuff like that, and being a better human being. I didn't understand it, but I kind of did. I made a video talking about kindness, and I recommend watching that because I just watched it, and I still agree with a lot of what I said, and I still like it. But I think being kind to everyone can do wonders, because you never know what people are going through. And I said this in that video, but someone could be suicidal, and showing a little kindness can make them feel better and help them ease with some of their problems and pain. And another thing too is, yes, kindness is key. And I feel like, I talked about how we can use mushrooms and marijuana as creative tools to help us solve our problems. Add to that, I think by trying to solve our problems, we can help other people solve their problems. But I also think that we shouldn't be too focused on solving our problems. Now, I already said this to a friend, but we shouldn't be too focused on solving our problems, because, like I said, we will have problems. Humans will have problems until the day they die. And to be selfish and so focused on solving your own problems and ignoring everyone else's is, like I said, selfish. I think so, and I'm guilty of it. So, and I have to work on it, because another thing that you need to know is, taking the time to help other people solve their problems can, you shouldn't expect it, but it can help you solve some of your own problems, and it can help you feel better as a human being by just ignoring yourself and helping someone who needs more help than you in that moment. Because, I'll give an example. I could be, and I already said this, but I could be upset about a late paycheck, wondering how I'm going to get money and trying to deal with some money problems, and someone's crying about their dog, and they want to talk about their dog and have someone to talk to about what happened to their dog, and someone to listen, who can listen. And so that is more important than me worrying about money and my late paycheck. So, yeah, that's it.